So today I am attempting to make a headband for my sister's birthday. Since the lockdown, stores are closed and this is the best I could come up with. I never made a headband before, so we'll see how it comes out. So the first thing you want to do is measure your head. I'm using a measuring tape and I'm placing it around my head and I'm measuring how big it is. My sister's head and mine are about the same size, so that's why I'm using this measurement. Also, I'm not measuring the whole circumference of my head. I'm leaving a small piece in the back of the neck, and that's where I'll be placing the elastic. Now you're gonna wanna use some scraps of fabric that you have laying around. You don't really need to go and buy yards of fabric just to make one or two headbands, right? um, the printed flower fabric is actually left over from the face mask that I have been making. If you missed that video, I will link it in the card above, and I may put it down in the description below as well. And you want to cut these strips of fabric into long rectangles the same length that you would have measured your head, and we're going to trim the sides down so that there's a little gradient, so it's not completely straight. There's a slight sloping so that it's slightly thicker towards the middle and slightly slimmer towards the end where you'll be attaching the elastic. Now I put the length of the elastic about 2 inches for my sisters and 3 inches for the gray one that could work for both male and female. This is just in case you want to give it to a friend who may have a slightly bigger head than yours. You could use 3 inches of elastic. That would give it enough room for it to stretch to fit that other person's size of head. Even though I plan to conceal the edges while sewing the headband, I'm still opting to serge down the edges, especially with this pattern fabric with all the fraying around the edges. I'm going to serge each strip down just so that there's no fraying when you are washing it. The only thing you have to look out for is based on the type of fabric that you are serging. So if it has no stretch at all, there might not be much puckering based on the tension that you have set. But if it has a little bit of stretch, which is in the gray material, I find when I'm serging it, it was puckering just a little bit, but not too much for me to have to adjust the settings. But that's just something that you may need to look out for based on the fabric that you may use, which is extra fabric that you have lying around. So look out for that. So when you come to sewing the actual headband, the strips together, you're going to want to put the right side of the cloth, which you would see if it's a pattern cloth, together facing each other. The right sides of the cloth facing each other, and you're going to have the wrong sides facing up, which is facing you. Now, just a side note here, when I was sewing the gray headband, you don't really see the right and the wrong side of the cloth, so I didn't really notice this issue. But when I came to the pattern cloth, I literally sewed the wrong sides together, so when I had to flip it over, right, it was giving me the wrong side, which is not what I wanted, which is why I'm specifying this now, because I had to rip out all the sewing that I did and sew it back properly. So please learn from my mistake and sew the right sides together so that when you flip it through, you're gonna have the right side showing in your headband, which is what you want. So I just sewed a straight stitch along the edges of the 2 strips to sew it together. Not by any particular measurement, I really just use the edge of my presser foot as a guide, so the cloth was never surpassing that, and that's the measurement that I use. You're going to sew the lengths of the strip together, so that's the longest part of the headband. You're leaving the widths open because that's where you're attaching the elastic. Once you sew the two lengths down, you're going to invert it, right, and turn it inside out. Once you have that and you flatten it, you're going to now fold in the widths, the edges of the widths, just about a quarter of an inch, right, and you're going to slip the elastic inside that hole. Now I use 2 pins just to kind of hold it in place, but if you're not that savvy with the pins, the best advice I would do is to take needle and thread and just base it down so that you know at least it's holding flat while you sew it across. And I did a simple straight stitch across, and you would see that's the only stitching that you would actually see, since everything else is more or less invisible. And based on the cloth that you use also, you would need to press it or iron it down flat because it would be just a little bit bulky. That was happening with the grey cloth because that cloth is more what you'd use if you're making work clothes, more like suits, and the other one is just cotton polyester blend, so it's much more flatter and much easier to handle, but it just gives it a very nice finishing touch, which you won't see in the video itself, but that's what I did do it for to get it a bit flatter. So what I would suggest is that you use a plain cloth for guys and pattern cloth for girls. And I just want to say, don't let the pandemic stop you from giving somebody a present for their birthday. I know things are very difficult right now, but there's always something that you could do which is even probably a little bit more thoughtful than going out there and buying something. So I hope that this gave people an idea, or at least something helpful that you could use in the future if you do need a headband, or if you do need a present that you could give somebody during this time. Thank you for watching the video. Comment, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff.